All right, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Oh, that's super frustrating. Here, I got music too. Oh, man. I can lip read. He's saying Hawks win the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, guys. I wanted to... I wanted to...
All right, can you hear me now?
Oh, no. Now
Can you hear
got
me
the
now?
echo. There we go. Cool. All right. As you guys can see, I do not typically do this. And... got some stuff. All right, let me run through this again. Hopefully at the end of this I can go through and just clip this and make it start over. But so first off, I want to apologize for multiple reasons, I guess now, but mostly for not being better prepared to get this week 17 pick'em video out and completed, because of Christmas Eve falling on the night that I usually will stay up late to do this. I had to be Santa that night, and that took priority because it was the first year that my 3-year-old really kind of knew what was going on, so we couldn't just sort of put the presents out and leave them there and just tell him that it was from Santa. So I had to stay up late and put together a bike and a shelf and all this stuff. So, plus I figured, a bunch of NFL teams are resting their starters this week, so it was a good week for me to do the same. But I hope you guys all had a great Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays. You guys were all in my thoughts throughout this holiday break here because I was stressing out about how I was going to figure out this video with the holiday and all that good stuff. It's the final week of the 2019 season, RIP, but yeah, I figured at the end of this, maybe this would be a fun way to do it. We can do a Q&A at the end, run through some of these picks, switch them up a little bit and see how they impact, see how we can change the order of the seating and whatnot. And I have the Santa's fake. Yeah, I know that, dude. I have the comments up now, so I'm reading what you guys say. Like I said, I'm pretty new at this. This is probably like my 3rd or 4th live stream on this channel. So yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right in, right? Oh yeah, and I'm using the playoff machine on ESPN. I don't really like it. It looks better, but it's super simple. This is what I'll be using later, and we'll be going over it. Oh, there's a sneak preview of all the picks. All right, so let's go over this game right here. Dolphins at Patriots here. I've got a pretty easy one, right? The Dolphins are trying to lock up as low of a pick as they possibly can. They finished the season 4-11, 4-12 when people thought that they weren't even going to win one game. So that's a pretty good improvement for them. This game is pretty important for the Patriots too, so therefore I see them wrapping things up pretty well and handling their business. If this game was in Miami, it'd be a different story because the Patriots like to struggle in Miami for some reason. But yeah, I don't see any way that the Patriots lose this game with how much is on the line, really. Because if they slip up, the Chiefs could slip in and take that 2 seed. Here, Jets and Bills, we have got a interesting scenario because the Bills are locked in at the 5th seed. They're probably going to be resting some starters at some point. And, the Jets they're locked in with just mediocrity overall, so they're probably going to still try and win this game. A win for them would put them at 7-9. That seems a little bit better than they deserve. But I do think that if Buffalo rests their starters, I think that without Josh Allen, this team doesn't get it done. So if they take him out of the game, it's going to be pretty hard for Buffalo. This one is definitely a toss-up, but I'm actually going to go with the Jets because I think that they're going to be trying harder, whereas Buffalo is, it doesn't matter for them. They're not going to move out of this seed. Obviously, you want some momentum going into the playoffs, but when you're a team like Buffalo, I think you just want to get in there healthy and be happy with that. Let's see. Show us the stats for the game. This is the stats that they have. They're kind of lame. It's funny. Everybody thought that I was making those graphics that I used all season long, but those are actually just from NFL.com, and I just did screenshots because the editing thing that I was using was just way too complex and was glitching out on me and switching up the teams after I would render the video. I didn't have time to watch the 30-minute video before upload. It was just a mess. So yeah, just use screenshots from NFL.com and just go from there. All right, let's move on. Saints at Panthers. Saints got really lucky with this end of the season scheduling here. With the Titans last week, they had kind of a meaningless game. They rested Derrick Henry and some other guys, I think. Still got a nice battle, so they should still be sharp. And the Panthers, really all they're playing for is Christian McCaffrey's stats. So I think that the Saints are going to go on the road, assuming that the weather is decent, which I think it is. It's been beautiful here. I'm in Virginia, and we're just down the road. So I assume that the Saints will wrap that up. I think that locks up home field for them. First, does that lock up first overall? Let's see. Nope, it does not lock that up yet. So they have to hope on the Seahawks. So they'll be tuned into Sunday Night Football. Browns at Bengals. The Bengals are locked in at number 1, so they actually could come out here and give it a battle. This is actually, I wrote here in my notes, this is probably the most depressing and meaningless game on the schedule this week because these teams are just miserable. And the uniforms are probably the ugliest combination in the league of any given teams, and of course we have to see it twice. I'm gonna go with the Browns because I don't know. I'm a sucker for picking the Browns, I guess, this year. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals pull this one out somehow. Then we've got Packers at Lions. The number 1 seed is also on the line for the Packers. So if they win, the Saints have got a lot of teams that they need to hope lose. So might not be super easy for the Saints to lock that up, but this game should be super easy for the Packers. The Lions are done. It's funny, so many people in that mock draft, man, they really think that the Lions are a year away from being able to compete and stuff, and I just don't see it. But even with Stafford back, and people are discrediting that Stafford injury, man, like broken bones in your spine is no joke, dude. Like if he takes one more hit like that, he could end up paralyzed. So hopefully poor dude doesn't come back if a doctor doesn't clear him, or he's not healthy. But he should probably get another opinion because the Lions doctors have not been too good for him. All right, Chargers at Chiefs. We've got a big important game for the Chiefs. Early game. It's weird though that this game is kicking off at 1 p.m. Eastern because typically these games are not. These AFC or NFC West teams, when they match up, they do not start at 1 o'clock, regardless of what's on the line. But because of the fact that the Patriots and the Chiefs are both vying for that 2 seed, it looks like they have to start pretty early in the day. They're actually only 1 hour behind. It's only a noon kickoff for them, but it is basically a East Coast kickoff for poor old Chargers. But I'm definitely going to go with the Chiefs here because they've got most on the line. Bears and Vikings. This is another situation where the Vikings are locked in as a 6th seed. They're not going to do any better than that. I think I opened up my app, my ESPN Fantasy Football app today, and Kirk Cousins was projected for 0.1 points. So, so they're probably going to be resting their starters also. The Bears are just a little bit more mentally tough. I think that even though we joke about the Kirk Cousins and primetime thing, like, you can say, oh, he's not the reason they lost, this or that, but like 9 times in primetime games, man, like, come on, Kurt. He's just mentally weak, and it's okay. He's an NFL quarterback. I think Tony Romo said it best. If this is the worst thing that ever happens to me, I'll be okay. Like, Kirk Cousins losing primetime games all the time, and that being sort of his thing, like, that's all right, man. He's made a lot of money, and it's just who he is. It's whatever. But I think that the Bears will come in there and they'll want to handle their business. So it doesn't really matter either way. This game, and I'm gonna look up the playoff predictors. I mentioned it in my mock draft video. Has a lot of sway. So it's like, all right. So first off, I think that the Falcons, they're apparently going to keep Dan Quinn, which, okay. And the Buccaneers their coaching staff is brand new. So they're still trying to set a good standard, make a good impression, all that. The Falcons coaching staff and GM, they've got to see the value in losing this game. I think that they're probably a better team. Jameis Winston, I'm hoping he hits that 30 for 30 mark with the interceptions and still managed to win. But what I was about to say with this is it's like a 12 game, or no, sorry, not 12. It's like going from pick 12 to pick 17 or something like that. The winner or the loser of this. So basically these teams will have the same record, or a similar record if they flip a flop here. But yeah, it's really important for the Falcons to lose this game because they drop a lot in the NFL draft order. All right, let me scroll down here. Ravens, Steelers at Ravens. Another team resting their starters. This game does not matter for them. They can win this game if they want to start their starters, be 14-2, look really great. But they're first seed no matter what. They are resting their starters and allowing the worst team, probably worse than the NFC East representative. They're letting the worst team in the playoffs, a team that they're familiar with, which is, there's so many things to juggle there. Do you want an easy route for these guys to come through so that you've got this right here matched up? So if the Chiefs win this matchup, they'll go to New England. Or do you want a tougher opponent and say the Titans come in and, do you think that the Titans could win this game and then you'd have to play the Titans? So there's a lot that they're probably discussing. They're resting their starters, but they're probably still going to try and win this game. But I think in the end that the Steelers will probably pull that upset just based on the fact that RG3 will be starting. I went over RG3 a few weeks ago. I think that it'll be a pretty interesting game. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. But anyways, Cowboys, Redskins. Oh my God, the Cowboys have just embarrassed me this season. Jason Garrett, he's owned the Eagles his entire career as the head coach of the Cowboys, and in the one game that he needed to win, the Cowboys just completely laid an egg. But what are you gonna do, man? But the Redskins are really depleted. Dwayne Haskins isn't going to be playing. Josh Norman isn't playing. I think that Josh Norman, he's not supposed to be a Redskin next year. He's not expected back. I think that they're going to either release him or try and trade him. But I think that he's a prime example of something that feels like a new trend that I've seen this year and maybe a little bit last year. I haven't really paid attention, I guess, as much. But it's a new trend in the NFL, and another example of the NFL sort of adapting college trends. So the big trend right now is that college players all skip their bowl games, right? Because if they're going into the draft, they don't want to risk an injury. Now it kind of feels like upcoming NFL free agents or veterans like Josh Norman that could be a free agent down the road or be moved to another team are coming up with sort of random injuries to miss this last meaningless game. This would be very much like the Cowboys to win this game. I think Byron Jones is doing the same thing. He might be a free agent, so he's not playing. But I still think the Cowboys, they beat the bad teams this year, and the Redskins are a bad team, so they'll probably win that game. Probably won't matter because they're playing at the same time as this, and it's just a mess over there, man. Yes, SG, I have a beard. No offense, but you look like a Cowboys fan type. Could that be the big Cowboys man cave thing that I have back there? And I'm a LeBron James fan. So cliche, man. But yeah, let's see. Anybody else say anything funny? Yeah, Cowboys and if the Cowboys and the Eagles both lose, then the Eagles still go. Here we've got did I just like randomly click on these? Here we've got Titans at Texans. This is a team where where did I have this on my here we go. So the Titans looked great last week against the Saints, even though they lost. They were somewhat resting their starters and whatnot. And then the Texans looked awful. Awful against the Bucs. I mean, I needed Deshaun Watson. I needed that game to be a huge point producer for fantasy, and it was not. I still won a couple of my leagues, but man, that game really, really sucked. But anyways, the Texans might be resting some of their starters, and they're going to end the season with two pretty ugly games probably. So it's kind of typical for a Bill O'Brien team to go into the wild card with that kind of dead momentum, I guess, and it probably will lead to them being a wild card knockout. I think that if this ends up being the matchup, they can probably beat the Buffalo Bills at home, because I don't know if the Bills can just keep up with them offensively. Like, their defense is great, but there's only so much they can stop them. But this is not looking good. I actually think that the Titans, who have more to play for, are going to come out and win this game. And this scenario right here, this is, to me, the best 6 teams that you're going to get into the AFC playoffs. So let's we'll get to all that stuff and we'll play with the thing, and I'll jump in the comments, and hopefully you guys can give me some questions and ideas to try and flip-flop some picks around. Colts to Jaguars, pretty meaningless game here. Jaguars have already fired Doug Marrone, but they're going to get their money's worth out of this guy and make him coach this game still, which is very, very strange. Just fire the guy. If he's fired, just let him go. Have a guy come in and see if he can give him some experience as the head coach of an NFL team. It's a weird scenario, but that's what you get when you had to get rid of what's his name, Todd Coughlin, who was running a weird ship there too. The Jaguars, I think, could have won this game had they not fired their coach, but now it feels weird over there. Leonard Fournette's he all of a sudden got some weird illness, so I think the Colts are just a better coach team. They're still playing hard. I think they'll come out and win that game. Eagles at Giants, man. As a Cowboys fan, I'm ready for the season to die. I don't want the Giants to lose. I don't think there's any way the Giants lose with what they have on. I don't think there's any way the Giants win with what they have on the line with the second overall pick and Chase Young, and it just doesn't make any sense for them to actually try and win this game. I think they might come out and put up a good fight, but in the end, the Eagles will still win this. Raiders at Broncos. I don't even have any notes for this game because this game's kind of let's see if Derek Carr can kind of have a huge game. I really doubt it. The defense hasn't been doing that well for the Broncos, but at least not generating a lot of pressure. The Raiders' offensive line has been really good this season, so I don't really see the defense putting up much of a fight. I want to go Oakland real bad, but I want to see Drew Lock, and I want to see him link up with. I want to see him blow up on offense one good time, because I really want to be. I really want to see this offense take off next year. I want them to have some momentum going into the season. Sorry, this is funny. I'm trying to read you guys' comments at the same time. Sir Pine of Apple. Anybody just read the picks at the bottom? I mean, that's what I put them there for, because this is kind of a late scenario. It's not like I'm trying to hide spoilers or anything too much. I mean, I showed them all at the very beginning. But I wanted to put something to make it kind of look like one of my regular videos, and I figured I'd add that in there to keep everybody kind of knowing what was going on. All right, Rams, Cardinals at Rams. Cardinals, they need to see the value in losing also. A win for them would push them to 6-9-1, should bounce them ahead of teams like Atlanta and that's it really. Still, I don't see any reason for them to be trying to win this. Same for the Rams though, man. Their season's over. There's no way that they can actually win this game. This would leave them at 9-7. Pretty sad Super Bowl hangover for them, but it is what it is. All right, and then the matchup of the week. The 49ers at Seattle. Beast mode is back. I did not see that one coming. I am all here for it. I've even got my... Let me see if you guys can see it here. I made these shirts a long time ago. The old HMD. Got it on. Repping Beast mode for the video. I am pretty excited about that, even though I feel like it's more just for show. I did say that I would never pick against the Niners again because that was silly, and then except for the fact that I had to pick against them, like I think it was like a week later they were playing the Ravens. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Beast Mode, man. Like I think that's such an awesome pickup for them. I think that he's not going to be washed up. He can't really be washed up because he's fresh. Like he's as fresh as ever, and I mean, who really saw Marshawn Lynch as like a real hard worker and trainer. Like, I bet you he trains hard just because he's a like badass alpha male. Like, he is the like an alpha of alphas. I actually saw a tweet about him that he was sitting in Schottenheimer's chair when he walked in for the first day of practice, so or film or whatever they were doing. So did I not put? Yeah, I've got Broncos over Oakland. I am pretty excited about that. I think that he's going to provide them an emotional spark that they needed. But I feel like the Seahawks have really been sandbagging it the last few weeks here. I don't really know what's going on with that. I think that they were looking at this game, looking ahead to this matchup for a while, and knew that this was going to be the one that decided if they won the division or not. And it's weird because they could have won the division and locked up the 1 seed, but just by beating one of these other teams with a win here. But I do think that Seattle wins. It's funny. I actually think that the winner of this game will go on to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I think that it means that much because the 1 seed, first of all, a wild card team hasn't been to the Super Bowl in like 8 years or something like that. So I think that you need to be one of these top. I mean, this is looking like probably one of these Super Bowls. I think this is the year that changes, but at least one of these teams is going to the Super Bowl, right? At least one of these winning teams. I don't know what that was. At least one of these winning teams here is going to go to the Super Bowl. I think that the reason I think that they could go to the Super Bowl is because even through this route, I don't. The Saints are a hard team to pick against. If they get Antonio Brown, it's a wrap. Like, I don't care how crazy he is off the field. On the field, I mean, Michael Thomas and Antonio Brown would be one of the best 1-2 combinations that we've ever seen. But even for just a few games, you know, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I feel like they would have already done it. Or maybe they're waiting until after this game so they can not have any distractions. Wrap up this 1 or 2 seed. And then go from there, and then maybe sign him, use that bye week to get him acclimated to the offense and whatnot. But I still really like the Seahawks to win. I have not finalized my playoff predictions, obviously, yet. I'm waiting to see what happens tomorrow. I'm going to basically do an all-nighter tomorrow night to make sure that I have my playoff predictions and Super Bowl prediction up Monday morning for you guys, or at least pretty early. But that's really mostly what I've got here. How long are we going? What time is it? It's 12:30, but not too bad. How many people we got watching? This is weird. I don't really like this thing that they have on the old YouTube dashboard here. Wow, 128 people. That's pretty awesome. I didn't believe that number, actually. It shows me that right here, but I did not believe it. So all right, let's see. Let me skim through some of these comments. I really appreciate you guys being so active down here. I apologize. I can't really read all of them or respond to all of them. I want to shout out to my man Ben for making it. Always leaves a comment. Sir Pine of Apple, always in the comments. If I don't recognize another one of you guys, it's just because they have such unique names, or I don't know why Ben stands out because it's just Ben. Let's see. Cody Derrick, I'm sorry about your Steelers, man. But to be honest, that was actually a relatively good season compared to where they were after the first month or so. It was looking pretty bleak there. Niner hater, I'm assuming you're talking to me. Niners are, man, what's up with their defensive tackle position? They might need to draft a defensive tackle. That position is cursed. Oh, before we do anything else, let me go over the pigskin pick'em. Here we have got from week 16, Mr. Silent Wolf was in the lead for last week. I did terribly. Got a lot of two-way ties there. And then the overall leader so far, Dustin Peterson, 97. But there is quite a few guys right on your tail there, Dustin. Yeah, it's going to be a tight week here. I'm not going to spoil your picks and show the other people Hopefully you guys got your picks in and you are ready to go with that. Here I've got all my picks summed up, except for, let me change some around that I adjusted here the last minute. Look over these. Yeah, this is not right. I think that's good. Yeah, so based on these teams winning, this would be the draft order. Let me get myself out of the way there. So this would be the draft order. And it's not going to be exactly like that, but it's probably going to end up pretty close. Obviously, the Cowboys and the Eagles could flop. But yeah, I'll jump back on here so you guys can see my cool self. A cool couch there in the back. All right, so that's the way the draft order would look based on this. And then playoff order would look like this. These guys having a bye week. Let me go and can I get you guys to throw some ideas on who you'd like to see me switch. What picks you would disagree with. We've already seen this. So this is what would happen if the 49ers win. I feel like I covered a lot of them. Hit me with an in the comments if you have a question for me. I can't tell if these are questions for me or if they're conversations that you guys have had running in the comments. Sir Pine of Apple, if you went 14-2 last week, but you didn't have it in any pool, you didn't go 14-2 last week. Hate to break it to you, man. How about Titans and Texans? All right. So that doesn't affect this, but I'm going to switch that back just so I don't forget. All right, so if the Texans win, the Steelers have got a better chance. But, if the Texans win, then the Steelers are in regardless, it looks like, even if they win or lose. So that makes sense why these games are both at the same time also. Dolphins over Pats, let's see. That's pretty big for the Chiefs there. I would love to see it. In fact, it would be pretty cool, but I don't have that much faith in them. Dolphins win 35-0. All right. Yeah, sorry, I didn't do any picks and score predictions and stuff like that this week. There just wasn't enough time. It's been pretty crazy over here with the holidays and stuff. Stayed the night with my family and traveling twin babies and a 3-year-old is not easy stuff. A lot of pack and plays need to be. I gotta have 2 pack and plays, man. Them things are obnoxiously heavy. You think the Seahawks will take the number 1 seed, huh? I think it'd be pretty tough for them to do that. They need a miracle. The Seahawks need a miracle but they'll know going into that game whether or not they have a chance. I feel like the Seahawks might go into this game just continuing to sandbag and just not really care that much. I don't know why. It feels weird like that. Like they have just sort of pumped the brakes, and maybe that's a Schottenheimer thing, man. He just gets real conservative at the very end of the season like this. I like the Vikings. This is for Julian. I like the Vikings with Dalvin Cook. I think it takes a lot of pressure off of Kirk Cousins, but I mean, it looked a lot better when they might have had a chance for that bye. They've rested him long enough, though. I mean, you got to play him. Like, you've got to. If this is the matchup, doesn't matter what the matchup is, really. You got to play the guys. You know, I don't know. Yeah. So if this ends up being the matchup, then you still got to play him. If this ends up being the matchup, you got to play him. It doesn't matter. The only game I could see you potentially resting him in is against the Eagles, but there's no way there's no way that these two teams could be matched up. So it's going to end up being oh wow, you guys can't see my cursor at all, can you? You can just see when I hover over or something. Interesting. I've been using my cursor this whole time as like a pointing tool. Alpha Centile, Oakland over Broncos, and hold on. Oakland over Broncos. And Titans and Steelers lose. Titans, Steelers. Oh, you knew what you were doing. You knew what you were doing there. Everybody shout out to the Raiders fan in there. Finding the one little backdoor entry for the Raiders to make it in there. You know what? I'd be all for it, actually. I would be all for it. I'd love to see them in the playoffs. I just don't see this one happening if they're resting starters. And this one's completely doable, so that's not that unbelievable, and this one's not believable either if they're resting their starters, so that's gonna be kind of tough. Let's see who's next. RWC9 or 29, is that what that is? You guys are getting a lot of starters back, but it's on the road. You guys have not been looking too sharp yourself. I like I said, I do think the winner of the NFC South, NFC West is going to end up representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. I think those are the two best teams. It's crazy to me that the Packers are going to, that they have such a high possibility of ending up in the 1 seed because they have got to be one of the more underwhelming teams in the playoffs. But their defense looks legit. I mean, but many defenses looked legit against Kirk Cousins on Monday Night Football. So, let's see, what was it? Bigger disappointment, Chargers or Brown? That's a good question, Jack. I would say the bigger disappointment has to be the Browns based off of all the hype. Based on the Odell Beckham Jr. hype that comes with getting a player of that caliber. I wish that if he had a sports hernia, we had known about that earlier in the season. I feel like that would have been less of a disappointing outcome for them, that you would have kind of, it would have been like like it would have made more sense why they were struggling and not clicking so much. I think that people gave Baker Mayfield a hard time, but I felt like it made sense for him to come out and say that, Odell Beckham should have just had hernia surgery and gotten healthy, and everybody would have been like, oh, hey, like whatever struggles we're going through, we've got this secret weapon coming to us in, a few weeks down the road or whatever. I think this whole team was just completely mismanaged from the start, and it's pretty disappointing. The Chargers are a disappointment just because it was Phillip Rivers' last year on that contract right now. They were a Super Bowl contending team, it seemed like, last year. They knocked this Ravens team out of they not only knocked the Ravens out of the playoffs last year, they dominated that team. After getting worked a month beforehand, they flipped the script and the defense was like suffocating. And then, they just like against the Patriots the following week, they just got exposed. So I think that you kind of saw that the Chargers were going to be the Chargers this year, and this just was a bad situation for them. And their home field advantage is just trash, man. Like, I can't believe that if the NFL lets that continue on for very long, then they really just don't even care about that team. Let's see. Man, I really appreciate you guys being so active in here. Ben, Bills over Jets or Ravens over Steelers? Are you looking for teams that are resting their starters, or you just want to see them? It doesn't really do anything for the Bills. They're locked in at the 5, so 11-5 would be a pretty awesome record for them to end the season with, though. But 10-6 just for some reason feels like kind of appropriate. Resting is for, yeah, you're probably right, Sean, but it makes sense, man. I mean, you just can't risk a guy getting hurt. It's just the games are too important. The Governors, do you think that the Steelers are Super Bowl contenders if they have a good quarterback? You mean like Ben Roethlisberger? I think that the Steelers are going to be really good with Ben Roethlisberger reverting back to early days Ben Roethlisberger next year. I think that next year the Steelers are going to be one of my favorite teams to project as dark horse Super Bowl contender because they need a veteran quarterback to just not screw things up. And Big Ben's been so sturdy and reliable, and he's a great big game quarterback to have. I think the Steelers, they need to get some more dynamic running backs in there to establish more of a running game and get back to old school Steeler football. I feel like this is what Mike Tomlin was brought in to build. He just got handed this offensive juggernaut, and you got to play to your strengths. And I can't. People love to trash talk on Mike Tomlin. I have nothing but mad respect for that dude for what he did with that team this year. And I think it just showed the quality of coach that the Steelers are. And I've never been like a huge Steelers supporter or anything, but I'm impressed with what they did and with the quarterbacks that they had. Cringe 64, you're going to have to wait for the old playoff predictions. I mean, if you guys want a real quick one here, let's just say, I'm not going to give any breakdowns. I'm just going to run through, pick the teams that, based off of the way that I had it laid out. This is what I would think would happen here. Whew, this is a tough one, man. Seahawks at Saints. I do think that this would happen. I have no idea. I want to go Seahawks, and I actually think that we might get a fourth chapter without. All right, so my issue with the Saints in the playoffs, man, is that, with Michael Thomas being as dominant and as great as he is, when a season is on the line, and you've only got one target that you pass to or rely on or trust, your offense becomes way too predictable. You become way too easy to shut down. The Saints are going to need to really adjust offensively in the playoffs. Man, it's just like, how do you pick against the Ravens? And I mean, this is nothing exciting. This hasn't changed for a while, so because I'm not going to do any. I'm going to save my deep breakdowns, but for you guys being bros here on the live stream after East Coast midnight for me, there's a little preview for it. Alpha Centile, Phillip Rivers to Carolina. Man, I hate the idea of any team signing Phillip Rivers. Just go retire, bro. Be with your 27 kids. Like, it's a wrap, dude. Like, his arm is just, it's a noodle now. Like, it's never been the strongest arm, but now it's real bad. I think we already went that one. In the NFC, should the Hawks just lose to get the 5 seed and play the 4, which is the Cowboys or Eagles, who suck? So, I guess they'll be 8-8, right? I saw a stat that the only 7-9 teams to ever make it in the wild card by winning their division actually won the wild card team. The Seahawks over the Saints being that one, that Beastquake, whatever, I can't remember what it was. Being that game in particular that was a 7-9 team beating. I think the Saints were like 11-5. So no, I don't think that they should lose, but I get it if they are hiding things or resting starters, and they sandbag once again. Kevin, that OSU Clemson game was unreal. I agree. It was pretty sweet. Man, dude, Justin Fields, dude. People are going to be hyping up Trevor Lawrence all next year, but a dude like Justin Fields, you can't even blame that last interception on him because it looked like a real, I think that Kirk Herbstreit, man, I love listening to Kirk Herbstreit. He broke it down so well, so quickly that it was, the receivers are so used to your quarterback scrambling that it looked like he broke off of the route too fast. So, Cringe 64. Do I think that the Seahawks are underrated? I do a little bit. I think that no. I think that Russell Wilson is underrated. I think that he's one of the best quarterbacks of our generation, and does not get any of the respect. I mean, he's never. I don't even think he's ever been an All-Pro. Never gets mentioned as a realistic MVP. He was for a little bit of the season, but he's just so steady and consistent that he's never really gotten that recognition. I think that Jadeveon Clowney will be unleashed once again in the playoffs. I think they've been kind of holding him back. So, Ben asks ask my thoughts on Ron Rivera to the Redskins. I actually think that's a great place for him. The defense is already kind of set up to run that hybrid that he was setting up in Carolina. I mean, it's a great fit. I don't want them to get him because I don't want that kind of consistency. But it's funny how Ron Rivera or the other guy, Marvin Lewis. No, was it Marvin Lewis? I think it was Marvin Lewis. Was the other guy they were considering for the Redskins job, and it's like Dan Snyder. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with that song by Lucas Joyner, I'm Not Racist. It's like kind of like Dan Snyder hiring a diverse coach is like his version of that. So I like Ron Rivera. Marvin Lewis, I would not hire him as head coach at this point. Defense coordinator, sure, but I don't know what he's holding out for if he thinks he's going to jump back into a head coach job. But yeah, I do like the idea. Ron Rivera would be a great pickup for the Redskins. Joshua Carpenter, Steelers over Ravens because the Steelers already almost beat Baltimore at Baltimore, and the Ravens are playing. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's what my original pick is. I think that's what's going to happen. It won't matter if they're going to be doing some scoreboard watching, and if the Texans are really resting their guys and the Titans are far in the lead, they could probably close up ship also. The Governors, I think the Steelers trade up to get Justin Herbert. Do you think that's a possibility? I think that the Steelers, if Ben Roethlisberger in fact does come back, and I think that he will, even though he was throwing the R word around a couple years back, I think that he is so determined to make one more run at this thing without Antonio Brown or Le'Veon Bell. I think that them trading up to get, first of all, they don't have a first round pick, so it's going to be really hard for them. I think they're better off taking one later in the draft. I think in my mock I had them taking Jalen Hurts, but I don't know if, he's not a second round pick even. He might be a third. He's just not a good enough passer. I don't like them using resources to deplete things or pieces that they could use to win now. Ron Smith says, are you guys kidding? We all know the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. Sure. I definitely like the Chiefs' chances. They're probably my second or third favorite team to win the whole thing. And they're the one team that could beat Baltimore, I think. Yeah, Sir Pine of Apples corrected us. This is fun, guys. In the future, I might end up doing this more, especially with the draft. I don't know. I feel like I don't know what to talk about with live streams, but I like to have a hand in every little detail. I don't like this much of a stagnant screen. I'm too ADD for all that. It's boring. But 84 of you guys are still here. So Ben, who said it? I saw it earlier. Tyler Lockett is underrated. He is, and what was it? Last year he was he had 158.3, which is a perfect passer rating when targeted, which was insane. Obviously, that's not the case this year. But where was he last week? He's had a couple of games, man, where he's just ghosted the Seahawks passing game, and I don't understand that. But him and DK Metcalf, whoo, man, I love that combination. And like I said last week, they both just went ghost. So I kind of feel like they were, excuse me, I kind of felt like they were sandbagging a little bit, holding things back in the offense against Cardinals last week, and for the few weeks leading up to that, because there's just doesn't seem right. Ben asks if I have any pets. I do. I have one dog. His name is Murphy. Ohio State got cheated out of 2 touchdowns. You're talking about early in the game? I guess you could argue that. It's that targeting call that everybody's complaining about, though, because it just completely flipped the script on the game. 49ers faithful. Jake, I picked the 49ers. Of course I did. No, I did pick the Seahawks in this one. Just the energy, beast mode coming back. I think that I saw somewhere he's only getting like 60 grand. And it's funny because I saw some, like, USA Today posted some corny video or whatever, about him getting 60 grand for the game and it being like so worth it. It's like, dude, it's playing running back in the NFL for 60 grand is not worth it. I mean, you could literally are risking your life every time you step out on the field. He's out there for a chance at a title, a chance to sell merch, and just, I mean, he's a big kid. Like, he's literally gets to suit up just for the most important games of the year. So, you know, why not? I think the energy there is going to be too much. But I did say, Jake, that I think that the winner of the NFC West will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I could be wrong, though, because these the Saints and the Packers got veteran quarterbacks that could easily do big things. I don't trust Garoppolo in these big matchups. I think that that's going to be the 49ers' downfall, is the inconsistent passing attack. Ben, like Murphy's Law? Damn. Yeah, it is kind of like Murphy's Law. Anything my dog can eat, he will eat. Alright, guys, I'm not going to linger too long. I don't want this video to go on forever, but this was a lot of fun. I think this is probably my best live stream yet, as far as things to talk about, not feeling as awkward, even though I talked to you guys for like 10 minutes on mute earlier. I'll have to go and clip that off of the video once this is done, but I appreciate you guys, coming and watching. Hey, there's like 100 people here and only 32 likes. Hit like so that people can see this, and then maybe watch it as their pregame show tomorrow. And yeah. All right, one last one here by the Governors. Are the Rams going to make the playoffs next year? I am not a fortune teller. I cannot see into the future quite like that. I'm going to say yes. Just because that's kind of the way the NFL goes. It's up and down and up and down, and you're never up for as long as you feel like you are. You're never down for as long as it feels. This is going to be a really tough division, though. So we'll see. We'll see. They're gonna have to make some sweeping changes on that O-line. I know that Andrew Whitworth said that he wants to come back for another year. I don't know how long that fossil can play, so we'll see. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me, guys. Thank you so much. I'll be in the comments up until tomorrow, kickoff or whatever. Hit me up down there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.